Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing swell, Bob. How are things over in Baltimore?
Um, it was a nice day, not a very hot summery day. But I want to say welcome everybody to the Pop Culture SquadCast Live. It is Thursday, so don't get confused. I think we got to get a new banner for Thursday nights because that Tuesday night JSA banner is fantastic. However, it is not Tuesday, and we're not meeting on Tuesday.
No, that's true, and I agree with you. We should
Well,
do that.
we'll have to find a Thursday night banner.
Well, folks can contribute their ideas.
Yes, that would be great. We will.
Let us
We
let
will.
us know.
We will submit that to the group. I'll put that out there on our socials and see if we need to see if they can give
All
us an
right.
idea for a Thursday night banner. Um, we are here Thursday night. We have a guest who's going to be joining us, Bob Frantz. This was we're going to be talking about a Kickstarter, as we often do on this show. The Kickstarter is for the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes graphic novel. It is not currently funded. It has got 11 days left. We're going to try and get that there and go to some stretch goals. It's being sponsored or published by Panick Entertainment, which is one of the newer publishers. Came out a couple of years ago at San Diego, which is um, chaired by our good friend Chris Longo. And we're going to talk about that. There's some great creative talent on that book, and it's fun property. So we'll talk about that and whatever else Bob wants to talk about. Before we get to that, there's a couple of news items that hit today, and we're going to talk about them. It's interesting because we spent a lot of time, I think, on Tuesday talking about DC, and these are both Marvel things we're going to talk about. So,
Yay! Equal
well,
time.
let's give some Marvel some time. We'll switch to the film and TV news first, and then we'll get to the comic stuff of things. The film and TV news is that where did we go here? Where did we lost it? We had a deadline, something going on here. Here we go. Deadline. All right. Wonder Man canceled after season 1 at Disney Plus. Marvel's changed its mind about Wonder Woman. Despite a previously announced season 2 renewal, the series has officially been canceled. Deadline has come.
Wonder Man. I
Did I
don't
say Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Well, listen,
I don't want people to get
DC can
confused.
sue me just like they tried to sue Marvel. But
And back and forth and back
well,
and
yes,
forth.
yes.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest back and forths in the long, animosity between Marvel and DC. But
I guess I don't think anybody there cares anymore, but
right.
in either company.
Right. All right. So Wonder Man, I apologize. I like Wonder Man. I like the character Wonder Man. I have always enjoyed him. I like the TV show a lot. I think it was really well done. So what it says is that Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who is actor Simon Williams, says that he's glad we got to be part of something cool. He thanked the fans for their genuine love they shared for the show. Word has dropped that Wonder Man won't be coming back for season 2. And if you don't know, now you know. That's life, right? Everything will shake out. I wanted to say thank you to everybody who watched the show, enjoyed the show, and shared that they enjoyed the show in some way or another.
Well, he's welcome because I was a big fan of it. I loved it.
I thought it was really some of the best. So I will say, to me, the thing about Wonder Man and ironically WandaVision is that they were two of my favorite Disney Plus things because they were so not comic book.
Yeah, I get that.
And well, then there's the whole Vision Simon Williams thing, kind of runs through that. But there's an interesting reaction to this. The interesting reaction is I've seen from some people online complaining that Marvel Studios, particularly the head of Marvel Studios, has some allegations of being unfair or not promoting properties with people of color in the lead role. And I don't see that, and I don't get that. So I'm not here to promote that. I'm here to kind of dismiss those allegations.
Well, it's very easy, particularly with our internet orientation, to blow up over very little and immediately cut corners to get to the wrong destination. I don't know why people are so upset about women characters or black characters. They call it woke, 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 which is the brain call of the complete fool. But the reverse is possible too. You know, there aren't enough minority representation in the Marvel books. I don't think that's true. But you know, there's 23,000 characters in the Marvel universe. In the TV and the movies, well, again, you know, there are so many different reasons why movies and TV shows get spiked. And one of them is that they're incredibly expensive to produce. Even a lousy show is expensive to produce. They got millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line. And there's a lot of people who don't want to see a failure on their watch. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a failure, but their careers, they feel, are in jeopardy if it becomes a failure. So sometimes I'm amazed that anything gets greenlit at all, because these people are inherently chicken shit. Worse still, 18 months from now, they'll all be working somewhere else anyway. So shut the fuck up.
I mean, that's fair. I think that's I am disappointed in the loss of more Wonder Man, but like part of the problem, and you and I've had this conversation over the years about the magic dollar valuation of streaming profits. Or
are there any? I didn't know there were any.
Right. I mean, the issue is, you know, there's been some sort of calculus that they figured out that you're not getting any new subscribers after a second season, sometimes even after a first season. And why go through the bother of making something? The thing is, so it feels like that what you need, what I don't know if they've done this calculus in that when do you lose subscribers, right? Do you lose subscribers after you stop making new stuff? You know, or you only
yes.
There's much harder to figure out, but there's also that people forget that they're still paying for it. Eventually they do figure out that they're still paying for it. They stop. It's so hard to put real numbers on it, and the costs are I don't know.
There are a few things we know, and we know for certain there's too much money being asked to be spent on streaming services. You know, if
by whom and for
the consumer is getting tired. I'm sorry.
The consumer is being asked to spend too much.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like 3 or 4 different streamers, and that's very easy. I mean, once you get past Netflix and Amazon, you know, you got Disney, you got HBO, and you got Paramount, you got Peacock, and you got everybody and their mother.
I don't think I could cut it down to 4.
And well, nobody knows if there's a ceiling or not. They know that people are being really frustrated or getting really frustrated about spending so much money every month, and they only watch maybe one show, you know, maybe 2 shows at any given time on any given streamer. Well, if that's the case, and that's almost always the case, then you're spending too much money. So we can't have all of these streamers But if we cut the money, if we cut the fees, then they won't have money to produce all of this stuff. So they're cutting budgets because they think they're losing money, and they probably are, but faster than they thought they would. And by cutting stuff, because you're cutting budget, you're just pissing off more subscribers. Would I cancel Disney because they shit canned Wonder Man 2? Probably not. But it depends on what else they have. I'm not a big Disney fan in terms of the traditional Disney movies. And I think that they've made enough Toy Story movies.
It's been enough.
It's been enough. I mean, there's 112 or something, and people are cutting back, and nobody knows where. Now they say that if the Warner Skyfuck thing goes through, then they will combine Paramount and HBO Max, or whatever they're calling it now. And that may be true. They didn't say they wouldn't ask for more money because of it, but even if they just for the cost of one, you get two, that's a good thing. But I still don't know whether most subscribers would feel that they're still getting enough bang for their buck. So they're in an impossible situation. If they cut product, they'll cut subscribers. If they don't have enough subscribers, they can't pay for enough product. It's a vicious circle. There's no way out. Good luck, guys.
It's one of the craziest things about the entertainment industry in general.
Take one of your lozenges.
And all of them in general, in the fact that the way you figure out who's buying your stuff is an exercise in archaeology.
Yes, that's true.
For TV, it used to be pretty simple. You got a box. There's a Nielsen box in everybody's house, and whatever people watched, that's what everybody watched. And everything worked off of that.
Right.
The advent of streamers has changed that dramatically.
Cable changed that dramatically 40 years ago, and it's built since then. Broadcasting, over terrestrial broadcasting, is a great thing to be involved in if you enjoy the sounds of silence. Nothing's going on in broadcasting. They're the cheapest bastards in the world. If you could save money by not having the broadcast channels, you wouldn't. People would not pay extra for NBC, CBS, Fox, NBC. I knew there was another one. They just wouldn't. There's not enough good product there. But the streamers, which has a lot of good product, more than I can watch, more than I care to watch in the aggregate, I ain't spending $600 a month watching television. And I like TV.
I agree. It's funny because 20 years ago there was a factor where if you had not cable, but if you had satellite television, you had to pay extra for local channels.
No, well, yeah. I didn't. I didn't at least.
We did.
I had
to pay extra for local channels.
I had direct TV, but I didn't have to pay extra for that. Ultimately, direct TV became more of a pain in the ass than it was worth,
But once you decide, once it became the point that
once you start unplugging shit, where do you stop?
Right. Well, once it became the point where you were getting your television or cable through your internet provider, and that was that bundle happened, then the DirecTV was no longer useful.
Yeah. That's true.
But anyway, we're back to this concept. But even if we talk about the comics or film or anything, like just figuring out. I mean, you have this great story that I remember you telling me about how DC used to figure out what their sell-throughs were at newsstands.
Right. Let me explain what that means.
Yeah,
for those of you who didn't write down what we were talking about before and memorize it. It used to be all the comics went out to the newsstands. We used to have newsstands. You could buy magazines and newspapers. We ain't got none of that shit no more. It just doesn't exist. Your Barnes and Noble, which went out of business, may have reopened in a much smaller location with a fraction of the number of magazines and hardly any comics, although they have the trade paperbacks. And the trade paperbacks made it work just fine. However, back in the days before direct sales, before comic book shops, which is not a big enough venue in general to support the comics industry, but without it, we're dead anyhow. They would print maybe 500,000 copies of a comic book, and they would sell 400,000 copies of that comic book, and for a dime a piece, I should point out. And they had the machinery to do that. There were enough newsstands, there were enough bookstores, there were enough drugstores, there were enough toy stores to sell all that. So if they were selling 70% or more of their circulation, of their print run, they were very happy. If they sold more than 60%, they were kind of happy. They would kind of predict before they would greenlight a project, but they would. DC had a sales force. Independent News had a sales force, and they went to every newsstand they could, and every week, and jotted down how many books were left.
How many people were on this force?
I don't know, lots, thousands. I'm surprised I wasn't. If they sold, 1 million copies of Superman, and they were selling 1 million copies of Superman, or Captain Marvel, the real one, that's fine. But if they had to print, 100 or 1.2 million in order to sell 100, I'm sorry, I'm babbling. In order to sell 1 million, that's okay. That's acceptable. That's, you can print that 100,000 before you can hit the stop button on the printing press. Today you can't do any of that. We don't have newsstand sales to speak of. We have some for certain titles, for certain publishers. Mad Magazine is not available on most newsstands, we think, but they're hard to find anyway. So Mad 600, which just came out, which I enjoyed, actually. It was mostly new material. If you didn't go to your front of the neighborhood comic book store, you didn't download it, or you weren't a subscriber, you didn't read Mad number 600 or 599 or 500. The old ways are gone.
One of the things about the old ways that I think is hurtful to that one of the things we've lost about the old ways is that is returnability is a problem. Well, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist now. It barely exists. Yeah.
And I feel that there's got to be a better way to do it, where because retailers are very unwilling to take a chance on sunk cost,
and they can't afford to.
Because they can't afford to, because they can't afford to buy 20 copies of issue 1 and then go for 10 copies of issue 2. That's not going to happen.
Right.
They're gonna buy 3 copies of issue 2.
Maybe.
Well, because there'll be 3 subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, if they hear a lot of noise and they pay attention to that noise amongst their customer base, then maybe they can make an educated decision. But it's not a great system because it does not promote or even allow for growth. Growth means taking a chance in a non-returnable environment. Growth means you sold 20 copies of the first issue. You want to sell 10 copies of the second issue. So you and your staff are going to push it. Well, how many books can you push? There's over 100 released every week. How do you do that? The rest of the world, the non-direct sales world, the non-comic book shop world, sort of has figured it out, kind of, because bookstores are selling trade paperbacks and even hardcovers, and they seem to be doing well with that, and with a wide variety of that. There's 1 billion of them coming out every day, and they only have to order 1 or 2 copies in order to have that presence in their bookstore. But they have to be hip enough to know that if those 2 copies sold real fast, they need to order more. And that's a lot to ask when you're talking about, 500 comic books or a month, or perhaps 100 trade paperbacks a month.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for comic book shops to deal with trade paperbacks. I will tell you that.
It is. Those that made an early investment in it had it down right. They would order low, but constantly replenish. They would look at their turns, the number of sales that they get on a daily and weekly basis, and order more copies of the trade paperbacks, because it costs them a lot of money to sell that stuff. Certainly the hardcovers, my God. If they sell 500 copies of one of these $150 omnibus editions, they're making money because they're charging you $150 for reprint material.
That's funny. I think it's an interesting conversation that we're constantly having, and I think that issue of how do we judge who is consuming our content is at the heart of so many problems in entertainment in general.
Absolutely. But publishing has always been a very risky business, more so than broadcasting or television or movies or what have you. Publishing is insane. A big publisher or a good publisher used to publish maybe 20 books or 15 books a month and hope that 2 of them will sell enough to cover their nut for all of them. Record industry worked the same way. There is no more record industry.
As I said entertainment, and it is across every medium.
Absolutely. They talk about vinyl records saving the record industry. Bullshit. They're not selling enough vinyl to save anything. They're upcharging collectibles. It's not records they're selling collectibles. That's fine. But you're not going to sell 1 million copies of a collectible record or a collectible comic book or a collectible anything, because the premise behind collectability is I can pay $100 for this today, and in 3 years I'll get $200 and I'll make $100 profit. We can argue whether that's good profit or not, but aside from that, if it's a collectible, it's not an infinite run,
right? And
you got to get there early and often to buy it unless you've advanced ordered it. So God bless Bud Plant, who just retired, for starting that whole industry up in the comics business, getting books and collectible material and collector's books, which is different than collectible material. An anthology of Spider-Man is not a risky venture this week.
Not this week for sure.
Right. Wonder Man, maybe. Wonder Man, maybe. And the TV show is not going to promote comic book sales. That hasn't really happened once in a while, but it hasn't really happened since the Batman TV show. And most of you out there in the ether right now probably weren't around when that show went on the air.
I wasn't.
See?
There you go.
And you got a mustache with gray.
That's all gray. This is the only dark part of the hair. This and this. That's it. Everything else gray. I want to talk about some comic news, and you got excited about it when we talked about it before the show. I'm excited, but so what I'm excited about is that news got announced that there is going to be a new Spider-Woman comic, and I'm going to read a little bit about what we got here. To celebrate Spider-Woman's 50th anniversary, Marvel is launching a bold new era for Jessica Drew this November. Following the major development in Amazing Spider-Man Spider-Versity number 5 next month, Jessica Drew finds herself in possession of Marvel's most terrifying supervillain. Spider-Woman is thrust into a dark new chapter in Spider-Woman number 1, written by Dan Waters, artist Andrea Boccardo, who did Spider-Man Noir. Spider-Woman takes Jessica back to her roots as a private investigator, teaming her with journalist Ben Urich to uncover the hidden threats that lurk in the shadows, venturing into the seedy corners of the Marvel Universe that even her fellow heroes avoid. Jessica's forced to embrace her darker impulses, but at what cost? And I like Spider-Woman. I have always really kind of been. First of all, the costume's really cool. I like the costume.
Costume is great.
And there's an interesting concept, I think, and I've always been a bit a fan of the character, but I liked the idea. So you're familiar with the idea that Jessica Jones was supposed to be Jessica Drew, right?
Right.
That was Brian Bendis's idea that it was going to be Jessica Drew, and then someone said no, and so then he created Jessica Jones, which is one of the greatest, new characters of the 21st century that Marvel has created. But
20th, I think it goes back to the 20th century.
I don't think so. I don't think
really.
So. Yep.
Wow. God, I'm older than I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pretty sure it's after it was after 2000. Because Powers is only 25 years old.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love Dan Waters.
Friend of the squad.
Friend of the squad. He's been on the show.
And a good writer. And a damn good writer.
Really good writer. And he's writing Nightwing. It's fantastic. He's written other stuff before that I love. He's writing Mask right now, the Hasbro Mask for the Energon universe. And let me tell you something. He's making Mask fun and interesting, and I can't wait to read the next issue. And I never expected that. So I'm happy that he's going to be doing Spider-Woman. You have a
yeah.
opinion?
I do. I mean, there are certain properties that Marvel dusts off and puts back into circulation because they want to take more newsstand space or nowadays comic book store rack space.
Sure.
So they figured that the more Marvel titles, this is true for DC as well, probably even more so right now, the more Marvel titles on the list, the retailers are going to order at least a bottom figure if it's a Marvel title. So Spider-Woman, they know will sell at least a certain amount. It may not sell enough, but it's worth dusting off and bringing out. I am tired of seeing all these books come out, you get all excited, and then they get shit canned. That annoys me greatly. But the only reason why I'm sad that Marvel doesn't do the Cull comic anymore is because that was when Marvel was being predatory. Every time they'd bring back Cull. I mean, Doctor Strange was sort of on that list, and Nick Fury was sort of on that list. And, they have these great characters that people love that have been around forever. And, what the hell, let's give them a shot. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as they're committed to it. Nowadays, if you get 10, 12 issues out of a Marvel book, you're lucky, or you're doing terrific if it's a new book. DC, on the other hand, has gone back to legacy numbering slowly but surely, which I appreciate because I'm an old time fanboy, and also because, they really did print 600 different issues of this book. Let's call it 600. If it's volume 7, number 1, you don't get the type of first issue action that you used to get when you had a first issue of a volume 1, number 1.
Yes, but then you also have Legion of Superheroes, volume 2. The first issue is 254.
Yes.
Well, there's which
and don't get me started about the old Charlton Comics numbering system, because as far as I'm concerned, they just tossed numbers up in the air and snatched one out and said, "This is now issue number 7."
There's especially in like the 70s, 60s, and 70s in DC, and you find like a war book or a Western book. They're like issue like 204, and I'm like, there were 204 of these. But it's usually twisted from something else. And anyway.
Do you remember the story about how I discovered that there was this character called the Flash?
Yeah, I'm familiar with your.
You
have issue. You did edit issue 1 of volume 2.
Two. Yeah, and it was the first number 1 for
the Flash. Because it was
all
Flash comics.
All Flash comics, and then there was the anthology Flash book. So I pick up that first issue of the Barry Allen Flash, and it says number 105. Now, okay, I was young then, but nonetheless, I would have seen issue 104 or 103 or 102, certainly. Because I went to 100 different drugstores every week. Me and my buddies would just walk down this major stretch in Chicago and stop at every place that sold comics. And by the time we were done, we got most of what was being produced that we wanted. So I wanted to know, where the hell was the first 104 issues of The Flash? I like superheroes. What the hell? Then about 3 months later, we, meaning my parents, were at this big supermarket called Mayflower, and they had a shitload of those 3 for $1 bags, which usually had either stripped covers, the logos were pulled off and returned, or no covers, because the covers were doing this, were proof of return. And always the book that you wanted was the one in the middle. So you had to sort of goof around with the plastic to see what that book was in the middle. And I saw on the front a Barry Allen Flash comic that I hadn't read, which wasn't hard because there were only a few out by that point. I'm going, holy shit, this must be one of the first 104. and I took it home, opened it up, read it 112 times, but the first thing I noticed was it wasn't an issue of The Flash, it was Showcase. It was one of the 4 Showcase tryout issues, either the 3rd or the 4th, I forget right now. And that taught me a lot, and it taught me a lot about that's actually one of the reasons why I got interested in how publishing works, because I knew it was batshit.
And so you went ahead and edited the first issue of The Flash #1.
Well, yeah, but that was the Wally West #1.
Listen, I bought it when it came out on at the drugstore.
I like that book. I like that run. I and the original creative team bailed after a year for editorial reasons.
Which go back and find a previous SquadCast. We did talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Right.
I'm sure that's an evergreen story we will talk about again.
Yeah, I'm sure
there's always an opportunity for that. But we need to bring our guest in. He's here. We're ready. We want to talk about some tomatoes. We're gonna change subjects, and we're gonna bring in our guest. Welcome to the show for the first time, Bob Frantz.
Whoa.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show. How are things there?
They're good. I'm in Virginia Beach. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia, visiting my mom.
Okay, excellent.
Because she had like a little health issue, so I came into town to be with my mom and to help out with her. I was just downstairs watching World War II with Tom Hanks. Have you seen this World War II documentary on the History Channel?
I've I think my wife has started to watch it, but I'm not sure.
How does it end?
I can't remember. I got to finish watching it. But it's a really good show, and I haven't been at work all week, and I totally forgot what day it was, and I thought this was tomorrow. So when I saw your Facebook message, I went, "Oh my God!" And I ran upstairs, and now here it is. So I apologize for being late.
It's okay.
Just said I haven't worked all week, so I have no frame of reference on date or time or whatever. I've just been kind of living in a World War II Tom Hanks bubble.
One of the things that people who are not freelancers don't understand is that those of us who are freelancers, or when we're freelancing, we need to hire an assistant, a little person to just run up to us every day and say, "This is Thursday."
Yeah.
This is Friday.
For some reason I had planted in my brain that you guys do this on Friday. So I was all clear. I was clearing my calendar. I even told my mom, I was like, "Hey, I got a thing I got to do tomorrow. So I'll be upstairs for a while." And I don't know, man. Just one of those things that so I apologize for being late.
No, first of all, I hope your mother is doing better.
Thank you.
And second of all, if we can get a little light on your face, you'll stop scaring people.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Yeah, this isn't necessarily the best recording area here. Hang on.
Yeah. The reason why I'm being picky is because the glare from the computer on your glasses makes you look weird.
Is that better or worse? I can pull them down. I can take them off.
No, you can leave the glasses on. You just need more light on your face if you can do it. If not,
see if I can fix it.
Here, let me move. Hang on.
I love all these tubes and wires. I love it.
Is that no? You're gonna.
Oh yeah, that's better.
That's much better. Yeah.
I appreciate the professionality that goes into this broadcast. That you have to make sure everybody looks good. I think that's cool.
Well,
we'll settle for looks. You don't have to look good.
So, again, thanks for doing this. Shout out to Mike Federale for that little piece. But it's it's something that you and I have talked about getting you on the show for a while now, and so I'm glad we were able to do that. I'm glad we're able to do that with for this project that's going on now, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which is being published by Panic Entertainment, but also in association with Killer Tomatoes Enterprises and Atomic Toy Box.
Yes, right? Yes. Atomic Toy Box, they hold the license and they're doing the comic through Panic Entertainment. And that's how we got involved, because Chris Longo, he founded and runs Panic Entertainment. We met him.
Chris Longo, friend of the show.
So. Yes, we met Chris several years ago at Baltimore Comic Con, and he came up to us in a very, very smart black denim jacket and was like, "Hey."
I've seen that jacket.
It's a great jacket. He was like, "Hey, I love you guys and I love what you do. Let's try to work together in the future sometime." And if you're working in comics on any level, that is the most enjoyable conversation to have, because it feels like you're making traction in the business. But at the same time, too, it's the most unrealistic conversation, because you know deep in your head it's never going to happen. You're like, yeah, okay, great.
But sometimes it does happen. And when it does happen, it starts with that.
That's right, Mike. And sometimes there's a man, and that man was Chris Longo. So we had stayed in touch with Chris throughout the years and just checking in with him, see how he's doing, because we've become friends because he's a good dude. And maybe last year, I don't even know how long it's been, but he just hit us up, was like, "Hey, you guys want to do Attack of the Killed Tomatoes?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't have any ideas for that. I don't have any pitches." He was like, No. Do you want to do it? And I was like, "Oh." So he just handed us this job. And I was like, "Chris, this is a really popular and really well-known, property. And we've never really done things of that nature before. All of our work has been self-created IPs. Do you think?" He's like, "Dude, I know you guys. I know you'll handle it. I know you'll do well." And so that was the environment that we walked into for Attack of the Killed Tomatoes. And it just kind of set a tone for us that hey, they trust us. We can kind of do whatever we want with this thing, and let's just run with it. And that's the attitude we had when we pitched it, and when we're scripting it, and when we came up with the characters. And so it's been a really good time. It's a really good time.
That's a great way to land a gig.
Yeah.
They want you.
Yeah, they want us.
What I'm reminded of is Christopher Reeve on Superman. After he was cast as Superman in 1977, he came to DC and he spent 2 days with Marty Pasco and me. Marty was writing Superman at the time, because he knew nothing about the character. He knew of it, but he had never seen the TV show. He had never read the comic book, the newspaper strip, never heard the radio show, the bubblegum cards, none of that.
Okay.
So we had this fascinating conversation about who Superman was, where he came from. And it wasn't a fanboy conversation, because Christopher asked good questions, the type of questions that a conscientious actor would ask. And I think that was part of the brilliance of his performance as Superman, was that he had no baggage to bring to the project. It was what inspired him. So, and you're in that same position, coincidentally, with Killer Tomatoes.
Oh, yeah. To some extent, even less, just for the sheer fact that with Superman, there's, I guess when the film came out, the first film, there was 50 years of continuity. There was there was established lore. There was rules of the property that you kind of had to kind of adhere by to do it. With Tomatoes, Attack of the Killed Tomatoes, I don't know how many of the films you've seen, but they're all different. There's different rules for every film. So
the one that comes out this month is the 5th, right?
Yes. There's the first film that came out in the 70s that was more kind of along the lines of the airplane humor, the kind of offbeat, kind of weird kind of jokes. The second one stars an actor that they're not allowed to talk about, who's very famous nowadays.
They're not allowed to talk about him?
There's I don't want to say but it's an unwritten rule of tomato lore that we don't
talk about him.
You don't.
Really?
Because he seems like a fun guy.
You know who we're talking about, Mike?
No, but you.
GC.
Yeah. You might know him from some
You might know
coffee
him from yeah. You might know him from coffee commercials or hospital dramas.
Yeah, great. I mean, and like, and it's unusual too because he seems like he has a very good sense of humor, but for some reason, this is just like it's
super. I mean, it was super early, but
it's
still.
it's territory that we shall not cross. Like you just don't just leave it alone.
Is that like his we don't talk about my porn days type thing?
I don't know. Like to be honest with you, I don't know, and I didn't want to know. I was just told like no, and I said okay, cool. We do have a reference to him in the book, but his face has been redacted, which I was just a really big fan of. Because it was at the time when there was a lot of redaction in the news, and I was like, this would be fun. So we redacted his face, but there's not a lot of like kind of solid and established tomato lore. So the cool part about doing this project was we got to kind of create some of our own and make some of our own history and kind of play with it a little bit. So that was also fun. So you're working on an established property, but it feels like you're doing something that's completely your own, which is a nice kind of like a nice balance, if that makes sense.
Tomato lore sounds like a Will Eisner villain.
Yeah, right.
Have to point that out.
Look, all I'm saying is I have two teenagers. One of them is 15, and he is obsessed with lore. He loves lore.
Yes.
So, and I guess
the word the young have adopted.
Yes, it's a word the kids love, and there's not a lot of tomato lore, so we were able to kind of create our own, which was really fun. So oh, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say let's talk about the Kickstarter for a minute here before it's currently funding. 11 days to go. I believe I was the 250th backer.
Hey,
so there's that.
Thank
you. There's a lot of lore here in this story. Like you're laying it out and telling people what they're getting, and I appreciate that. It's there's some time travel involved in this. There's definitely trying to prevent the tomatoes from becoming their murderous selves. Great cover here by Tim Seeley, and then the main cover by Bob Fingerman. I mean, that's some fantastic artists. Bobby Timoney on the insides, and then you and Kevin are writing it.
Yes, yeah.
And quite a few options here once we get to stretch goals, but $25 for a trade paperback is fairly common.
Yeah, that's what
great prices on this.
Yeah,
I kind of want to get the shirt. I'm gonna have to talk to Chris about that.
I love the shirt. I love the shirt. And isn't there a print too? I believe there's a print.
Yeah, there's prints.
Yeah, I want the print because I really dig the print. Chris has a print in his office that I really want. I'm like, dude, how do I get one of those? Like that's
whoa. Scroll back to extra ketchup.
Extra ketchup. Where was the extra ketchup? Oh yeah, the extra ketchup.
Extra ketchup. Wow. Cool.
So there's also this is a poster of the new film that's coming out. I think like next week or something, or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's a new film coming out on this, so it's all the point, works for everybody. I'm excited. When he said you got the job, how did you guys approach taking this and saying, all right, what are we going to do with this? What was your process, and what did you come up with?
Bob, that's a very interesting question because like with an Attack of the Killer Tomatoes book, everybody kind of knows what they're going to get. They're going to get tomatoes attacking people, right? And so like,
you're
going to get that. So in my head, it was very much like, well, what can we do? What kind of fun themes and tropes can we play with to kind of make this fun? That was the kind of thought that popped into my head. And one of the themes, it was actually the initial theme of the book, was like the idea of like kind of living in the world that we live in and kind of living in the algorithm. Because so many of us live in this algorithm of social media, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, and like you're seeing what you see because it's what you watch and it's what you're drawn to.
Sure.
And I went through like a little bit of a health kick back a couple years ago where I was trying to like be more healthy, like exercise more and things of that nature. So I was getting a lot of these like health influencers pushing their wares. And I was like, you know what, this would be a really fun idea to kind of use for tomatoes because if you know anything about the property, you know Gangrene is doing what he can to make, he's a scientist at heart. He's not necessarily an evil guy. He's a scientist. He wants to run experiments. He's trying to do his work in the world. And I was thinking like, how could he get his message out into the world in 2024? So the easiest way for him to do that would be to manipulate the algorithms. So in the book, he's created like a line of products, he's hawking through influencers that are kind of pre-workouts and collagen things and these weird supplements. And people are taking these things, but little do they know they're changing their own DNA and turning themselves into tomatoes, right? Like silly and fun. It worked for me. So we kind of went with that idea and just kind of kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then there was like, well, you know what? There's something missing. We need something else here. And one of my favorite tropes is like people returning from the past or returning from the future to right a wrong in the past, right? Like it's an idea of speculative fiction that's been going on for generations. So we kind of took that idea too. Some of the story takes place in the distant future where Gangrene has won and he's taken over the world. And there's like this little group of resistance fighters who get the bright idea to come back into the past to destroy Gangrene. So that's it's a speculative fiction trope that people have played with for generations. And I was like, well, what if we did this to it? And I had my idea and I pitched it to Chris. And I pitched it to Michael Polis, who has the property. And they're like, yeah, dude, we love it. Do it. So that's kind of, I can't tell you what we did to it because then, you know, that kind of, I don't want to give away too much. You got to read the book.
You blow the story. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of the nature of it. So you're taking these ideas that are happening now and classic speculative fiction ideas and kind of turning them on their head a little bit to fit the narrative and the world that we want to live in. Because to me, those are where the jokes are. You know what I mean? So like you've got the character interactions, you've got a little bit of social commentary, you've got a little bit of the playing with the tropes idea. So you're just kind of mixing all the humor together and you end up with this fantastic tomato book.
When your graphic novel comes out.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to read it, not just because I'm curious and I'd like to read it, but because I already have the soundtrack. I'm going to be listening to Frank Zappa's Call Any Vegetable, which is a great song and it seems to fit your spirit. Let's see.
And anything by Zappa is kind of amazing, right? So you're in the right ballpark.
Absolutely.
And you're in the right frame of mind. Like when I write these things, I like to, it's weird because I will kind of, I will construct soundtracks for myself. So like when I wrote the first Metal Shark Bro, for some reason I was listening to a lot of Chemical Romance, My Chemical Romance. I just listened to My Chemical Romance a lot. And that's how I kind of crafted the first Metal Shark Bro book. When we did the second one, I was listening to a lot of Danzig. Like if you're familiar with Danzig from the Misfits, I was listening to a lot of, for some reason for this book, I listened to a lot of Parliament Funkadelic. Like, I don't know why, but like the idea of being in the future and the mothership and all that stuff really kind of hit with me, and the funky grooves and like the good times. So this is kind of Parliament inspired.
You just provided me with an opportunity to plug something that I would like to plug.
Go plug away.
In Chicago, where Bob and I will be in 2 weeks, there is an exhibit of George Clinton's work, his artwork.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that is amazing. If you've ever seen George Clinton work live, even on television, it's an astonishing experience.
Oh, he's got such a unique aesthetic, yeah.
And a brilliant man to talk with. He even tried movie acting a little bit. That didn't work out. But when you say George Clinton, when you say Funkadelic, I'm there.
Yeah, and Bootsy Collins is from Cincinnati, and like,
oh yes, that's right.
He's from Cincinnati, so and like a lot of that sound, that funk sound, was kind of invented in Cincinnati. So how can you not love Bootsy? So it's just fun to kind of, like I said, you're playing with genres, you're playing with ideas, you're playing with tropes, and that's where the comedy comes from for me. So we're just running with it. And like I said, Chris was super supportive, and Michael was also very supportive. So we just kind of did it.
Back in the early 70s, I did a TV show. I appeared on a TV show where the other guest was Peter Max.
Okay.
Which was a wonderful experience because he was genuinely a nice guy, and he also hung out with George Harrison, which made it all the better. But when I met him, I said, "So you were created by Bootsy Collins?" And he stopped and he thought about it for a second and let out a laugh that startled his handlers. His people. They look like, oh my God, who's this Bootsy Collins guy?
That's awesome.
So I want just to follow on Mike's plug, because he half plugged it. There is a George Clinton exhibit at the Marianne Ibrahim Gallery in Westtown through September 5th.
That's
exactly
awesome.
Where it is. And there's a link in the show notes where you can get to
thank you.
The Sun-Times article about that.
Now, are you guys going to Chicago specifically for the exhibit, or what brings you to the city of Chicago?
Well, I'm in Chicago.
Mike needs to go home.
Oh, okay.
So, Mike needs to go back and plug in, to get the laptop to work for your purpose, everything.
And I desperately need a couple of Italian beef sandwiches.
Okay.
It's just that simple. But we're going for a variety of reasons, mostly so I can show Bob strange places in Chicago that I probably shouldn't show him.
Yeah.
Leave that decision to Bob. Let Bob make those decisions.
Well,
you can be his guide and let Bob make the decisions if he wants to go through the door.
But I gotta see the expression on his face.
We do have a question from the gallery here, and
sure.
It's an interesting one. Are the tomatoes all red, or are they different colors?
That's a good question. Some of them are, most of them are red, but a lot of the futuristic tomatoes have like robot attachments because Gangrene, as he's moved into the future, has realized that robotics are the way of the future. Like you see the robot dogs that Boston Dynamics run out, all that creepy, like weird stuff that happens. So Gangrene kind of falls into that idea that robots are the future, robotics are the future. So he kind of builds tomatoes that have, chainsaw arms and octopus tentacle legs and kind of these different looks like robot bat wings. Bobby Timoney, who's the artist on the book, did such a great job of kind of putting pictures to my vague descriptions of things that I wanted to see. I was like, you kind of robotic, make it look cool. And Bobby would bring back these wonderful images that we've been sharing on like the Panic Instagram. And I think some of them are even on the Kickstarter. And it's like he just reached into my brain and just pulled them out like one by one. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing. How did Bobby get involved in this?
Bobby got involved because Chris has known Bobby for quite some time, and he knew that Bobby would be able to kind of knock it out of the park. And Bobby has like such a fantastic style. He's almost like a chameleon. He can kind of draw any style you're looking for. And the pages have that. I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but they have that kind of 90s cartoon vibe, because there was an Attack of the Killer Tomatoes cartoon in the 90s.
I did not watch that, but I do get, and that works for him because he's got experience with that type of a genre, and I think it looks, the pages that I've seen look great.
Oh, dude, they're fantastic. And And that 90s cartoon is such a touchstone point for so many people, like, because I'm 48. So people under my generation and even members of my generation, like that's their intro to Killer Tomatoes. They didn't see the films. They don't know anything about the films, but they knew the cartoon. And so like, it was a nice way to kind of get that audience in and then kind of keep some of the humor of the cartoons and the films. And it's just a nice kind of mix of all these different ideas. Like, look at those things, man. It's got like tentacles and stuff. And Bobby was just so good because that page description is just like robot chaos. And that's what he came up with. So, like, he did such a great job. We fell into such a rhythm so quickly. It was really nice. But yeah, Bobby's doing a great job. The book so far, like the pages he's putting up in our little base camp look beautiful. Like he's doing the work, and it's a really exciting project to be a part of. And I'm just so honored to be a part of this pop culture kind of phenomenon. Because again, like, you may not know the Tomatoes, but you know the song. I bet you could hum it right now. Like, you could. Like, you could just sit there and just hum Attack of the Killer. You know the song, you know what I mean? So it was such a cool thing to kind of be a part of, and to just be able to put our own voice into that world has been really fun.
That's great. One of the things I love about the comics business, about being an editor in the comics business, is you put a writer together with an artist, and then the artwork comes in and you show it to the writer, and it's the first time he or she has seen the work graphically. And 9 out of 10 times, maybe 95 out of 100 times, they look at it and this big shit-eating grin breaks out of their face. And that is a moment I love.
I've always kind of equated it to like Christmas morning.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Downstairs and you open up your gifts, and you really wanted that, that G.I. Joe toy, or you really wanted that He-Man figure, or you really wanted that Star Wars toy, and you open up the box and there it is. Because in your head, it's an idea, like, oh, dude, it'd be so cool to have Castle Grayskull. Like, how awesome would that be to get that on Christmas Day? And you go downstairs and there it is in all its plastic glory. It's the same feeling. And I've been doing comics now professionally probably for 8 years. And even before that, I was self-publishing a lot of my own stuff. And that first time I saw pages, 10 years ago, to looking at new Tomato pages today, I still get that vibe. Like, I still am just like, dude, this is so awesome. So much so that, when we did Skeeters with Kelly Williams.
See, this is what I want. That's exactly the question I wanted to ask. I exactly wanted to know, what was it like when you opened the first Skeeters pages, because I love that book.
Dude, like,
love that book.
Dude, I bought the page at the end of the book where his name is escaping me right now, but the stoner dude character is holding the Skeeter's head at the end.
Yep.
I bought that page from Kelly, and it's framed in my house on my wall because, like, I loved it so much. I have, like, not to get away from Tomatoes, but I will for a second. To sing Kelly's praises.
Of course, that's what we're here for. We're all here for that.
I had been a fan of Kelly. Dude, I had been a fan of Kelly's work for years, for years. I remember the first time I met him, I tried to get him to let me write a book that he was putting out. I was like, dude, I could do a really good job on that book. I don't know if you know this, but I write Metal Shark Bro, and I could kill that book that you want to work on. But he had already had somebody in mind. But yeah, I've been a big fan of Kelly's work, and a buddy of ours who edited Metal Shark Bro, who edited Skeeters, Chaz Pangburn, who's a dear friend of ours.
Love Chaz.
Yeah, Chaz is great, man. Like, him and I, we get together every now and then and eat Waffle House and just shoot the shit, and it's a good time. Chaz is a good dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's a great editor. But him and I he was like, hey, man, that story that you and Kevin wrote about the mosquitoes? Like, you guys should pitch that with Kelly attached. And I was like, well, do you think Kelly would do it? And we talked to Kelly, and Kelly was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so just because he was like, yeah, it sounds cool, I'll do it. And that's the thing with Kelly. Like, you can get him with something, and he'll be like, yeah, that sounds fun, I'll do that. And so he hopped on board, and dude, getting those Skeeter pages, because he added so much like just like weird pus, and like made it look so not to sound
Gross.
gross, but just so moist and wet. Like it was awesome. Like, and Kelly kept pushing it. He was like, well, what if when the mosquitoes ate something, they took on the characteristics of the thing that they ate? And we're like, yeah, dude, that sounds like more work for you, dude, but do it. And so like, it was nice to kind of work in tandem together on this project because Kelly would have ideas and Kevin and I have always been very much like, hey man, we write the stuff, you have to draw it. So anything that you can come up with that you think would be cool on the page, try it. Like it's worth the try because it's like, it's a way to it's a way to become more of a creative team. If I'm a writer and I just say, here's a book, draw it, the person who's working on that book, they might not be super into what I'm trying to do. But if we can kind of collaborate on the look of the book and like what the characters look like and this, that, and yeah, like what the monsters look like, then I think there's more of a buy-in on the artist part. So I think it just makes a better product because again, comics are wonderful because it's a collaborative medium and I want to collaborate as much as possible. So like, I don't have all the answers and I'm more than willing to admit that. So like, if you got a better idea, give it a go and let's see what works.
The best thing about comics is that it is an art form, a communications form that combines those sentiments with pure and sheer enthusiasm.
Oh yeah.
We sequentially collaborate, but you can still, and you should still encourage people to put themselves in the book, to put their work in the book.
100%.
And you know, you could, if there's a real problem, you can smooth that out. You can work that out. That's not a problem. You can always work that stuff out if two people see things totally differently, as long as you maintain the enthusiasm.
Oh yeah.
Therefore, you know you're making a mistake if you find that you're running out of that enthusiasm.
Oh, 100%.
You've done something wrong.
And comics too are something that it's like, I'm a writer, yes, but like I'm also kind of a conductor in a sense because all of us have to work in symphony to create something beautiful. Because
absolutely,
I'm sure it's happened to you guys. You've walked around a con floor and you've opened up a book that looks awesome. The cover looks great. The colors on the cover looks great. The title's cool. It's a cool character. You open the book and the lettering stinks. And you're like, well, this isn't going to be any good. So you just put it down and keep walking. You know what I mean?
Probably lettered it.
Oh, no. Chaz is a great letterer, man. He's a multi-Ringo nominated letterer. That dude's got more Ringo nominations for lettering than I know what to do with. But you just pick up a book and you can see like, oh, the colors are good in this. Ooh, the art's good. Ooh, the letters are fantastic. And then, you know, like people, they all did their job to the best of their ability to give you what you're holding in your hand. And it's so nice to be a part of that process because people say to me like, well, you like writing. Why don't you write novels? It's like, because I don't want to do that by myself. I don't want to be on an island. Like I like the collaborative process of comics. I enjoy hearing other people's ideas because, dude, like I've worked in a collaborative business for a very long time. Before I did comics, I was on a commercial radio show with like 3 other people. I know I don't have the best ideas in the room. I may have a nugget of an idea that's kind of cool, but like, I know it's not the best idea, but hey, if you have a way to improve my idea, I'm here and I'm willing to listen. And it takes a lot of ego, like a lot of egolessness to be in this business because you're going to hear a lot of the times like, yeah, what else you got? What about that? What about this? So you have to be willing to kind of, Kevin and I call it like, kill your babies. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that joke doesn't work here. It's a great joke, but it doesn't work here. So we got to cut it.
Right.
And that's just the nature of the business, you know?
That's the nature of writing.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you want to or can write one form of material doesn't mean that you can write or want to write another.
100%.
There are plenty of like movie and TV writers who have tried comics, particularly once it became trendy, and decided it really wasn't for them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because the process, every medium is different and every medium is unique.
Yeah,
I have a radio background as well, and a very strong radio background. And to me, working in a studio alone, particularly at like 2 a.m, because I love doing overnights, you wonder if there's anybody else alive out there listening to you. Well, when you're writing or drawing a comic book, at that moment you have those same feelings.
Yeah.
You're just working, you're beating a deadline, you got all the stuff you have to do, and you want to know if there's a reason for it. Of course there's that reason. It's your collaborators.
Mhm. Well, and
your audience is part of that.
And when I worked in radio, we had an afternoon drive show, and we took a lot of phone calls, and we knew if something was working based on the amount of phone calls we got. So that was like instant validation. Where comics is very different, because you write something and you just put it out into the world, and you don't know what people think of it. You don't know how it's going to land. And like, you just kind of hope for the best. And I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that, like, that day your book drops, you're on social media, like checking your hashtags. Like, I wonder what somebody had to say about this one, or looking at your, or you're scared to look at your munchies. You know what I mean? Like, cause somebody's going to bang you up because your book stinks.
We kind of talked about that earlier before we brought you on, just like the way that people figure out what's good and what's not these days. But I want to talk about you talking about collaboration, and I'm sorry we don't have Kevin on, because I kind of wanted at one point have you guys on together. So you guys are a writing pair.
Yes.
How did that come about, and how does that work for you guys? It's we talk about comics being collaborative medium, and that there's so many different pieces, but having two writers who write together the way that you guys do is definitely a little bit unique. So how does that work for you guys?
For us, I don't want to say it's easy because we share the same brain, but we kind of share the same brain. Like, we very much have similar. That's not true, because when I first met Kevin, he really wanted to be a serious comic book writer. Like, he wanted to be like the next, like, Garth Ennis. He wanted to be that guy, and I drug him down into the muck, into like silly books with silly premises. So Kevin still has that side to him, but with us, it's kind of we'll get together and we'll hammer out an outline. Like, we'll get an outline, a very tight outline of A, B, C, D needs to happen. We'll normally put the page numbers for the scene so we know what we're looking at for issues, and then we'll just do it. And then, so if I can do 2 scenes and go, okay, man, you're in, and Kevin can just kind of pick up where I left off using the outline and just kind of go. So we work on a hard outline. But how we get from A to B is entirely up to us and subject to change. So if Kevin has an idea for something, he's like, hey, I like A to B, but I want to get there going this way. And as long as he tells me about it, I'm like, yeah, dude, that sounds cool. Have at it. Have at it. You know what I mean? So we're very open to that sense of it, because, again, I don't have the best idea. Kevin doesn't have the best idea. Like, we're willing to kind of cede the point if need be. Like, if I feel like he's got a stronger argument, or he's got a better twist, or a cooler character beat that he wants to hit, or a cooler story beat, then have at it. And like, same thing with, me, I could go to Kevin and be like, hey man, I think we should do this. And he'll go, yeah, that sounds about right. Cause that's what happened a lot during Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It's like, we were kind of kicking around ideas, and I just kind of laid it out to him one day. I was like, this is because I deliver mail that's my real job. When I'm not writing comics, I carry mail. So I was delivering mail one day, and it just kind of hit me as I was walking around. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I just kind of laid it out to Kevin, like, beat by beat by beat by beat. And he was like, dude, that sounds awesome. So do it. And I was like, all right, cool. And so then I started kind of doing it. And then Kevin will be your first eyes on it, and the first editor. So like, Kevin will be like, okay, this joke doesn't work. What about this? I don't see this character saying this here, so you should change that. And it's like, okay, cool. So I'll go back in and kind of do that work. And then when he's writing, I go back and do the same thing to him. So we have a good system worked out. It's worked out now for 4 books. I think we've done it this way. And like, I wouldn't change it, because I enjoy working with them.
One of the things that is most exciting about collaboration, artistic collaboration, is that it defies mathematics. which is just a theory, by the way. It doesn't really exist. But in
But if
collaboration,
if you say it confidently enough, people will believe you.
there you go. That's
Yeah.
right. That's true. That's true for almost anything, and that's scary.
I think we're
But
living in that reality.
Yeah,
yes,
pretty-
we are. In the real world of mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2. In the collaborative world, 1 + 1 = 3. That's the difference. That's the beauty of collaboration. And that is what makes comics such a fun form to work in.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I can't stress how enjoyable this whole process has been, just and especially with the different people we've worked with, because as I've gotten further along in my career, I've decided that like I want to work with the people I want to work with. And I mean, I want to work on the projects that I want to work on. So I'm being hyper selective about the things that I do and the things that I take on because my time is valuable. And like, I have kids that I want to hang out with, and I have a wife who I love who wants to see me. And like, so I'm becoming more selective. And when you do comics that way, when you're working with people who you like and who you love and who you want to work with, it makes the process a lot more fun. You know, because it doesn't feel like work. It kind of feels like you're just hanging out and you're just shooting the shit and coming up with fun ideas. Like this would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool. We should do that. You know, and you just kind of go from there. You know what I mean? Like that's how an idea can start. Like I pitched Kelly Williams an idea because he went through a phase where he was drawing. I don't know if you guys will remember this, but he was drawing a sentient biscuit. Do you guys remember this at the beginning of the year? He kept drawing a biscuit that had eyes that would talk. And I was bored at work. I was bored at work one day and I saw the artwork and I came up with the whole pitch around this biscuit. And I was like, Kelly, we should do this. And he was like, okay, let's do it. And so like I wrote this pitch and as soon as I finished the tomatoes thing, like as soon as the script, I, cross the I's and dot the T's, if you will, I'm going to start cracking on this thing with Kelly just because like, again, we've worked with Kelly. We love Kelly. He's such a good dude. And like, he's a guy that I want to continue to work with.
Every once in a while, I find myself, and this has been true my whole life, find myself sitting in a room detached from the creative process because I'm wondering, how the hell did I get into this room? You know? And that's a terrific feeling. That's a very validating feeling.
Oh, yeah. And like you just go with it. Like, I think all of us on some level deal with some kind of imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? And like every creative I know, one of my dear friends, Jason Copeland, who is a super talented cartoonist out of Canada. He did that book Full Tilt, super great guy. But Jason and I have this conversation all the time. Like, do you ever just have to kind of like go, yeah, dude, I'm good enough to do this. Like, because when you're writing a script, like you could have the best idea and you start out and it's like the pattern of your script. Like you start out and you're just like a bat out of hell and you're writing and every joke lands and every page turn is crisp and beautiful. But then by like page 7, you're like, oh my God, this is the worst fucking thing I've ever done before my whole life. and then by page 12, you're like, I think I'm back on track. And then by 20, you're like, oh my God, that was the worst experience of my whole life. I got to do this 3 more times. And the process just goes like, it's so interesting how your confidence as a writer, especially one that's not like, churning out smash after smash after smash. But I wonder if it happens to guys like Scott Snyder. I wonder if it happens to like, Philip Kennedy Johnson or like these dudes that are just like heavyweights of the business. Like, do they feel the same thing too? Like, as you're going, like, oh my God, this is god awful and I hate it, but I got to finish it. Like, does Tom King write a script for Mr. Miracle and feel that way by page 9? I don't know, but it's fun to think about.
Probably, I mean, because there's no cure for your insecurity until many months down the road when it's all finished and it's printed and it's in people's hands and they treat you like a god.
Or they treat
the
you like
the thing about being a comic book writer, and I've had conversations with some of the people you just mentioned about stuff like this, is that you think you've got something. You think you think this means something, or sometimes you're like, I don't know. I hope the artist figures this out.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And then at the end of the day, they're like, oh, they did figure it out.
Yeah. But again, that's having faith in the collaborative process. You know what I mean? That's where you can put on a page, robot tomato chaos in a burned down city, and that's what you get, and you go, I'm a genius. You know what I mean? But as long as you're willing to play ball, then you're good to go. And that's something that I tell like new writers too. It's just like, be okay with the collaborative process. Like, you don't have all the answers. Like, you're not going to be able to figure this out on your own. Like, get yourself an editor, find somebody that can tell a story visually, and sometimes trust them to help you craft your vision,
And remember that you have to be having a good time.
Well, 100%.
When you're in the middle of something, it's like swimming laps. You got to do 50 laps of the swimming pool, and by the time you're done with the 20th lap, you're going like, "Holy shit! There's no way in the world I can do 30 of these things." But then you get out of the water after you're done, and you feel pretty damn good about yourself because you did it.
Yeah,
well, totally. Comics is the same way, but we did it.
Yeah,
even if you are the writer artist.
Oh, totally, 100%. Like, there's nothing cooler than finishing a script and sending out those, because my favorite part is like sending out the first draft, sending it to the editor, waiting 3 days and getting your notes back and going, okay, cool. Like, let's fix these things and get this thing polished up so somebody else can do their part. And that's the beauty of the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes Kickstarter. Like, the first 2 issues and the third one are already done. I'm working on like the final like 20 pages of the finale now, because like it's a bigger, the last chapter is a little bit bigger, and I just had to kind of tie everything together. But that was another thing that I was running into as well, because like when I was writing the script, I kept thinking like, okay, does this make sense logically? This has to work logically. Logically, is this working? Does A and B connect? And then I was like, dude, what are you? It's a Tomatoes book, bro. Like, this doesn't, like, I'm not writing Oppenheimer here. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't, like, I'm not doing like some high science fiction here. This is Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. So it doesn't necessarily have to make all that much sense as long as it's fun and the audience buys in. And I think with the property, the audience is already bought in. So it's your job just to kind of take them on a fun ride and try to give them something they've never seen before. And I think with this book, we're able to do that. Like, because the buy-in's already there. You know what the property is. You know exactly what it is. So our job is to give them something they've never seen, but for it to feel familiar. Because again, I don't know if you've seen the first film, but for some reason, there's a lot of guys attacking tomatoes in costumes. So guess what happens in the comic book? There's a lot of dudes in costume fighting tomatoes. You know what I mean? Because it's the feel of the book, And I had somebody else ask me like, well, how do you write jokes for this? And I don't know if I stole your thunder with that question, Bob.
Yep.
But somebody asks, like, how is it writing comedy? Like, is it difficult? And my whole idea of it had always been like, you're just bombarding people with jokes. Like, this joke on page 1 might not land, but the one panel 4 might, and the one on panel 1 might work, and the one on panel 3 might work. So it's just like an overload, because you don't want to set somebody up for a big punchline. You think it's hilarious, but the reader's like, yeah, I'm not feeling that. So you just kind of like, it's like baseball. You're going out there, you're taking your swings. If you hit 400, hey, you're a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? So like, if you can get 40% of your jokes to land in a funny book, I think you're doing a pretty good job.
1,000 years ago, there were 2 TV shows that went up on NBC that changed the way writing happened to fit the model that you're talking about, Bob. Ronan Martin's Laugh-In, where the jokes were so fast and furious that if it didn't land, you forgot that by the time you got to the one that did. Yep. The other one had more of a storytelling background, but had the same philosophy, and that was original Monkeys TV show.
Oh, dude, the original Monkeys TV show is so batshit crazy. Like,
Absolutely. More so today, I think. But that might be me. But still, TV used to be A to B to C to D, and to a certain extent, it still is, but not comedy.
No.
And comic books, we can embrace that while doing tragedy.
Yeah. See, and like there was a time where, and then not to get into the office-ication of television sitcoms, but that TV show kind of changed the way television comedy was written. Like you have your premise, and then the joke comes in the interview where Michael Scott says something offbeat or kind of silly. Where the comedy you're talking about, and I don't want to date myself, but I grew up with Nick at Night. And so I remember very vividly watching the Monkeys and watching Laugh-In and like watching these shows where like, you could have a sight gag, you could have like a pratfall, you could have a pun, you could have like a knock joke, just like a classic setup, boom, boom, boom kind of joke. So like, I feel like that's where comedy is best, kind of that scattergun approach where like, hey, dude, not every one of these is going to work, but you're going to laugh at least two of them. And like, again, it could be a pun. It could be a sight gag. It could be just kind of run with it that way. And that's how we did Metal Shark Bro. And that's how we even did Skeeters to some extent too. Just like, and to me, a lot of the humor happens in the interactions between the characters. You know what I mean? Like that kind of like Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm, like somebody takes something the wrong way, or someone's overblowing a situation, or they're having like minutia conversation about something. Oh, well, you go first. No, you go first. Okay. Is it my turn now? Okay. Like just kind of that weird, like Mel Brooks style. Yes. So there's so many different ways to do comedy, and there's so many ways to kind of put it on the page. It's just a matter of trying to execute it to its.
A writer needs to embrace the weird.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
For example, where I was talking about the Monkeys, they made a movie after the TV show ended. That movie, which I love, it's a cult classic. Head, yeah. It starred Annette Funicello, Sonny Liston, Frank Zappa, and Victor Mature.
It was written by Mel Gibson.
Yes. Well, co-written. Yeah. So figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got the Monkeys, and you got these four people. My God. Yeah. that's weird.
And that was also, and I don't know, like Bob, I think you've read some of our stuff. Mike, we like to embrace the weird as much as possible. Like,
sure.
That's something that we really like to kind of go with. And because again, especially when you're doing like an original IP, like with Metal Shark Bro, when we would sell Metal Shark Bro at a convention, like if we could get you on just the premise, Satan worshiper falls off a boat, gets eaten by a shark gets turned into a guy. Like if we can get you with that, you're good. Like you've brought in. Like if you're okay with that premise, we can take you as far as we're willing to go as creatives because you've already bought in. Like,
and
at any point, if you, because people do it, they would look at Metal Shark Bro and go, "Oh, this is dumb," and they'd put it down. There's no reason to try to sell that person on the book because they've already made up their mind. Oh, this is stupid. So like, that's cool. So,
but it is stupid. That's the point.
But the thing about it is though, like it's not their kind of stupid. Like it's not it's not their funny. If you buy in on the premise, then whatever we do to you after that is fair game. And with Tomatoes, again, you've already bought it on the premise. You know what the product is, so we can take it as far out as we want to go. And that's kind of what we were able to do with this script and with this story. And again, we had so much support from Chris over at Panic and from Mike that it was so refreshing again as a storyteller just to be able to do it.
Well, okay. So let's before we have to wrap up here. The book it's getting made. right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You're gonna hit your goal. There's
Oh,
plenty
yeah.
more. There's plenty more that's gonna happen. It's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes on Kickstarter. The links are in the show notes. So go ahead and check those. This is the cover. This cover, right? Am I correct?
That's the hardcover cover. Yeah.
Hardcover that only on Kickstarter.
Yes, sir.
Which I love the fact that there is something special for Kickstarter.
Yeah, me too.
This you can only get from Kickstarter. This is the Tim Seeley cover, and then this is when it's published, and it will eventually be available for mass consumption. This is the Bob Fingerman cover, which is the standard paperback cover.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. And then there's so many really, really cool. I'm hoping that you blow through this stuff in the next few days, because a lot of the stretch goals are just adding more, right? It's just more catch up, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the cool part about it is too, it's not just our story. It's an anthology piece as well. So like there's the 96-page story that we're telling, and then after that there's anthology work that's going to be in there from all kinds of different people, and they're going to start announcing some of the anthology people as we get closer to the what's the term I'm looking for here, Bob? The closing. Yeah. So they'll start announcing some more of the collaborators, and I think they've already announced one. It's very exciting. Here, let me grab that information because I got it right here. Hang on.
Let's see.
It is. Here we go. Rodney Barnes is one.
Oh, great.
Rodney's contributing to it as well, so that's really cool. I mean, people love Rodney Barnes. People love his work.
Sure.
So that's a really good one. For what you all know, Philadelphia. He did Blackula. So I mean, come on, he knows what he's doing.
He's got a book out right now called Crownsville, which is about a haunted prison sanitarium that exists over here in Maryland. So
that's awesome.
Oh,
yeah, that's cool.
I have to point out, I am a big Bob Fingerman fan. Coincidentally, he and I were conversing today on Facebook. Wonderful talent. Not a lot of comics people are aware of his background and what all great stuff he's done. So as far as I'm concerned, you're landing Bob Fingerman for a cover. Not only is that brilliantly perceptive in my book, but wonderful that you pulled it off. Just amazing.
Yeah. That's all Chris, dude. Chris knows Bob.
Of course it is.
Yeah, Chris knows Bob from way back in the day. And like, I've always been a big fan of Bob's work because I know he worked on Mad Magazine for a while, and I was always a big reader of Mad Magazine. So like to be tied to a guy like Bob Fingerman is really cool for us, because like one of my dreams as like a young kid was like to write for Mad Magazine, dude. I loved Mad Magazine growing up, and unfortunately it went the way of the dodo, so that dream will never come to fruition. But
it might.
You never know.
They're doing more and more new material now.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that
give Maria a call.
If not for Mad Magazine and for Bill Gaines and Harvey Kurtzman and Don Martin and the rest, I would not be the man I am today, whatever that may be.
Hey, here, you know what I mean? You made it this far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm fun.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, I do have one more question from the gallery. Do you like to eat tomatoes, or has your relationship with tomatoes changed because of your work on this book?
You know, I've always been a big fan of tomato and tomato products. Sure. I like ketchup. Sometimes can be too sweet for me. I like to get like the lower sugar ketchup because it's unnecessarily
I'm gonna have a problem
sweet. But I mean,
I'm gonna have a problem eating hot dogs in Chicago because I'm a ketchup person, and they frown on that.
I'll take you to a place where they'll scream at you.
Nice.
They will run you out of town on a rail, sir.
Give me a dirty water dog with some ketchup and onions, and I'm good.
Yeah, but you can get the onions that are kind of sautéed in ketchup, so you can still kind of get that ketchup vibe. But yeah, I like ketchup. I'm a big fan of salsa. I've even told my wife like I wanted to start trying to make my own salsa because I fall down these rabbit holes and
Yes, of course.
people on the internet make it so easy to like make salsa. They make it look so easy. I mean, says you, Bob. I'm not. But I've always wanted to try to make salsa. So yes, I do like tomatoes. I like tomatoes so much that when we fund, I'm not saying if, because I'm very confident that when we fund, I will cover myself in tomato-based products in my bathroom, in my shower.
There you go.
I will take a tomato bath just for the bits.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So if you've ever wanted to see a grown man covered in tomato sauce, you got 11 days and like less than $2,000 to make it happen.
You can't get enough of that.
Yeah.
As you may note from my name there, my name tag, I'm a huge barbecue junkie.
So, nice.
So my relationship with tomatoes is a very deep and personal one.
It's as well as, and like, there's nothing better than like a BLT with like a nice garden fresh tomato, you know what I mean? Like, with a little salt and pepper, like it's just delicious.
Kyle just made a comment, and if he's willing to come to join us for dinner or something in Chicago,
he may have to drive down.
I understand. You will see that in action.
All right, let's go.
All right, Bob, it's wonderful having you here.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And before I leave, I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to take time up on your show to promote my fine wares. We make these books, and sometimes it feels like we're making them in a vacuum because like you feel like you throw things out there and people just don't seem to like, because there's so much going on. But I really appreciate it. And I know everyone else you've probably had on your show really appreciates you like opening up your audience to our stuff and to try to spread the word about the things we're working on. It means a lot. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. You have been a great guest, and you will be a great guest again.
Oh, well, we'll see.
So the pleasure is ours.
That's if any of my pitches get picked up. We'll see what happens.
Oh, they will. Are you? Am I going to see you anywhere? Are you going to be at any shows the rest of the year?
I doubt it because I've already kind of used my vacation for the year at the post office. I'm going to try to get to Heroes next year because I have a 15-year-old, 16-year-old who's super into comics and to art. And I keep
Heroes is the place to be.
I keep telling him that Heroes is the place to be. So I might try to get to Heroes next year. But yeah, man, like comic shows are fun, but I haven't had a lot of new stuff to kind of run out there. So it's like you don't want to go back to the same town with the same stuff. Like I want to have new stuff when we hit the new towns. So hopefully with the Tomatoes book and a couple other things under my belt, we can hit the con circuit again.
Good.
Well, this is going to surprise Mr. Harrison, but I really hope I can get to Heroes next year. I don't do a lot of shows anymore, but
I mean,
it's been a while since I've done that one, and my God, I love that show.
And there's some good barbecue in Charlotte too, so keep that in mind.
Oh, you can throw a stone in any direction. And find good barbecue in Charlotte. My God, getting me out of Charlotte is harder than getting me into it.
All right, Bob. Thank you again for being here. And again, thanks to Mike Frederelli for the I don't know,
shout
idea.
Out, put together the facilitation.
Absolutely. You know, he was right, and I'm glad we got it done because again, like I said, you and I have been talking about this for years now, so I'm glad we did it, and I can't wait to do it again. So thanks for being here, Bob.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. Take it easy. That was fun.
It was wonderful.
And we have still another show on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, we're going to have Sarah Gailey, and we're going to talk to them about their crazy writing. If you're if comics wise, the two big things that I want to point you to from them are Know Your Station, which is about a space station where there is a big difference between the elites and the non-elites, and the space station systems gains sentience and starts killing things. And then mostly the elites. And then the other thing that they wrote is comic wise is called Eat the Rich. Eat the Rich, in which there's a town where the rich people basically have servants who sign a contract, and at the end of their contract, they're killed and eaten. And so this is about the revolt of that situation. It's brilliant. Both of those are fantastic, and I'm currently in the middle of reading their new novel, which is called Make Me Better, which is fantastic. They have such great ideas, and they're a brilliant writer. So Sarah Gailey will be on the show on Tuesday. We'll probably be talking about some other comics that are coming out in our opening dialogue, and we are booking guests beyond that. So,
well, next Tuesday is going.
It's also we are going to have it's birthday party day.
Oh,
it's Mike's birthday on Tuesday. Everybody be here.
Yeah, good luck. I was referring to myself with that.
You got to be here.
I'll hang in there until Tuesday. I promise.
All right, good. All right, everybody. All right. Thanks for being here twice this week. We will see you on Tuesday. Have a great night. Remember to read more comics because they're good for you.
And thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. Good night.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?